My name's Dyson. I am a singer-songwriter. I'm from the UK originally, but I now live here in LA. I'm very lucky to have been able to do 2 Splice packs so far. And this is Chris.
Yeah, I'm Chris Gustin, originally from Chicago, but also live out here in LA now. Producer, mix engineer, composer, and was lucky enough to get to work on this second Splice pack for Dyson.
So we started working 18 months ago, about. Mm-hmm. So we work on sync projects, my own projects, his music. I mean, we do it all. But the Splice was really a fun project because we both got to kind of use our main talents. And he's just an incredible engineer, mixer. So it was a dream.
Yeah, it was fun to do something a little different outside of producing actual full tracks and stuff like that. So getting to chop it up into pieces and find little gems that could be really usable for other producers in the world. So yeah, it was fun.
I mean, from a writing perspective, it's kind of similar to writing a whole song because you want to write hooks. That's kind of how I approach it. So it's kind of like trying to write 200 hooks, which can be quite tricky, but it's actually a freeing process because you're not thinking about the whole song and needs a chorus and a verse and tell a story. You're looking for kind of one-liners that can be instantly relatable. So for me, it was a fun challenge as a writer to be able to just, pick out these key phrases that, people are going to want to use. For me, I did the first pack with another producer, and it was kind of the same process for me. I would pull up different tracks and different keys that kind of inspired me, that this producer had made. And I would just ad-lib, kind of 3 times on each track to just kind of see what came naturally and which was the strongest. And then I would just chop them up and kind of develop them further. And it's pretty much what I did on the second pack too, because I didn't want to overwrite. I just like to kind of just let it happen. The same as when I write a song, I would just listen to a track and be inspired. So yeah, it was kind of actually a blueprint for me for both Splice packs.
Right off the bat, I mean, some of the stuff she's mentioned she wanted was like doing some vocal synth stuff. She really likes that in pop music. So we wanted to do a couple, loops like that for people to use. I think the most important part was just finding the lines that she ad-libbed that felt like they could stand really well on their own. So, you just hear one line, you're like, oh, that's such a great line in itself. There's no filler in it. There's no fluff. It's just every word is like, a little picturesque and, so that was important for us to just really nail each line and have them be fun. And yeah.
And then we get to do the fun part, which is add the vocoder, the reverbs, delays. That was the fun part. I would be like, hey, I want this to be a vocoder. And he's like, okay, let's make it happen.
Yeah, it was fun just to make some effects, little one shots and things like that, loops, reverses, anything that the little the ear candy really. So most people are going to be coming to this vocal pack to hear Lauren's voice and to use her melodies, her lyrics, and they're all so amazing. But then in the pack, they get some extras, some bonus, some ear candy that they can also use as a producer.
Yeah. So. And that for me was the fun part about the second pack is that I got to write with the producer, so I could say, hey, I want to create this and I want it to feel like this, and we'd sit at the computer and I could go through every second together. So that was the difference. I think on this pack I had a lot more control and a lot more input to the production side as well. Okay, so the average per track, so I would do three runs of probably about 20 to 30 takes. So so that's 90 ideas per track. I think I did about 5 or 6 tracks.
I mean, we landed at 222, I think, samples.
Yeah, and there could have been more,
so
but we were trying to be...
Probably twice as many as that to start out with.
As a singer, personally, I love wet vocals. I love reverbs and delays, and I love it to sound, dreamy. And I just love my voice sounding that way. But he was like, you're going to want to give producers dry vocals. You're going to want to do as many as you can because people want to put their own spin on it. So that was kind of harder for me because I preferred them mostly to be affected. But he was very adamant, and having, as a producer, a dry vocal just gives you so much more possibility. So in my pack, there are a lot of dry vocals as opposed to the affected ones. I've been singing my whole life and I consider myself a good singer. But you can make a good singer sound bad. If you don't know how to produce a vocal, I mean, I've heard some vocals that I've done. I'm like, is that really what I sound like? You know, compression, EQ, it's also important. You know, we spent time yesterday EQing my voice, and there's some frequencies I didn't even know I had in my voice. You know, I didn't know that I had so many variants in my voice. And, you know, we're sitting there and it's like, it's so intricate and it makes such a difference to the overall mix. You know, if I do a vocal and then I send it to a producer, you know, he's trying to mix around a vocal that has these frequencies in. It's like, you know, they go hand in hand. You know, you can't send a bad vocal. It then is going to lead to a bad production, in my opinion.
I would say the dry vocal, you know, the Billie Eilish and then even Dua has a lot of dry vocals on her tracks and stuff like that. So, I mean, I think that's
it's that very kind of upfront.
Yeah, a lot more common now. Just
a lot less BBs. It's all about the lead. Yeah. You know, a nice strong.
But yeah, I would say the dry vocal is like the newest trend that I'm seeing.
Yeah, and I'm sure my samples are in things that I have no idea. Like I had Pixel Terror, I did a song with them, and in the track they sent me, unbeknownst to me, my sample was in there from my first pack, and they said, "Did you not hear it?" I'm like, "Oh no, I didn't even like." That's crazy. So if I didn't hear it in that, how many things have I not heard it in? So it's really fun to know that in some way, somewhere in the world, I'm helping people do what they love. You know, I do what I love every day. And it feels really good to know that, you know, I can be a small contributor to, you know, someone else's dream and passion. And
yeah, and from a producer standpoint, that's the most exciting part, is when they send her messages being like, hey, check out my track, we use some of your samples. And then I get to hear what they did with the stuff that I created, like sonically, and they change it, they flip it into something brand new and like that I didn't think of, and I'm just like, that's so cool. Like I should have thought of that, but it's cool to see people putting their own twists on these things.
Yeah, it's fun.